Hey everybody, what you're about to see is a class that is available on the Payments Professor website. This is a class that goes into detail on all the different rules changes that are happening in 2021. If you'd like more, go to paymentsprofessor.com. Hey everybody, let's take the ache out of ACH rules changes and updates. Did you notice that intro was different than the rest? Did you differentiate the change, or would you like to pay the fee? See, payments can be made via ACH as long as they're done correctly. Let's look at differentiating unauthorized return codes and the fee that goes with them. This rule has been released in 2 phases. Now, phase 1, it's already out there. Phase 1 was released on April 1st, 2020. That is when the repurposed return code became effective and financial institutions were to start using it for its new purpose. Well, now we're going to see on April 1st, 2021, phase 2 of the rule to differentiate unauthorized returns becomes effective. That means that as of April 1st, 2021, the existing unauthorized entry fee will be applied to, drumroll, R11 returns. So, are you saying that all that is happening with this rule this year is that the fee will now be applied when there's an R11 return? That is correct. That is exactly what I am saying. See, the same fee we see with other unauthorized return entries will now be applied to R11 return. So you don't want to get this wrong. Well, what kind of fee are we talking about? Well, according to the FRB Services 2021 Fee Services Schedule, how about $4.50 per entry, or per item as they list it? Yeah, we don't want to mess this one up. Now you may be saying, what exactly is this differentiating unauthorized returns, Professor? Because at that $4.50 per item or entry, I don't want to mess that one up. Well, I am glad you asked. See, the purpose of this rule is to be able to better differentiate among types of unauthorized return reasons for consumer debits. While the ACH has one of the most extensive return systems of any payment channel, there are still times that you're left wondering, what return reason code should I use? What return reason code should go here? Whatever should I do? In those situations, call your payment associations. They're there to help you for that just same reason, okay? But I gotta go on. The new differentiation actually gives ODFIs and their originators clearer and better information on when a customer claims that an error occurred with an authorized payment, as opposed to when a customer claims there was no authorization for a payment. That's a big difference between the two. See, ODFIs and their originators should be able to react differently to claims of errors and hopefully avoid taking the more significant, possibly even unnecessary actions that tend to go with those types of claims. The industry really took something old and they made it new again. Well, in a way. See, there was a repurposing of an existing, really hardly ever or rarely used return reason code, the R11. That was used for something else, and what it was used for, it doesn't matter, because now it is used when a receiving customer claims that there was an error with what is an otherwise authorized payment. Keywords here, error and authorized, okay? Yeah, it's an error or a problem with a payment that they did in fact authorize, but again has some kind of issues. We all have some issues, but this is issues with our transaction. You see, the return reason code R10, it tends to be used as the be-all, catch-all for multiple types of issues surrounding unauthorized return reason codes, including those historically used to have valid authorizations. But we're not going to use it for ones that have valid authorizations. Like, for example, when a consumer debit is processed on the wrong date or the wrong amount from what the customer has authorized, it's authorized, but just processed incorrectly or differently than what was on the authorization. Now, in those types of cases, a return of the debit still should be made, but the originator and their customer, that's the receiver, might both benefit from a correction of the error rather than the termination of the origination authorization. You see, a correction would help because, again, it is authorized. It just has some piece of information that is incorrect, and it will be processed at some point. So let's work together to get the entry corrected. That's right, we can all work together. And the use of the distinct return reason code R11, it enables a return that conveys this new meaning of error, rather than no authorization. When should we use an R10? Well, the R10 reason code is defined as customer advises originator is not known to receiver and/or originator is not authorized by receiver to debit receiver's account. Well, that one is a mouthful, isn't it? Well, when is it used? This is the R10, all right? I wanted to differentiate between the two. This is the R10 we're talking about. R10 is used for situations where the receiver does not know the identity of the originator. It is used for situations where the receiver has no relationship with the originator. In situations where the receiver has not authorized the originator to debit the account. We also see it with ARC and BOC entries. For ARC and BOC entries, it is for when the signature on the source document is not authentic or authorized. And for POP entries, the signature on the written authorization is not authentic or authorized. But the R11, now it's different. See, the R11 return reason code, it is defined as, it's still a mouthful, but it is defined as customer advises entry not in accordance with the terms of the authorization. It is used by the RDFI to return an entry for which the originator and the receiver have a relationship, and an authorization to the debit does exist, but there's an error, or maybe even we could call it a defect in the payment. For example, like the entry does not meet the terms of the authorization. Well, what kind of situation are we talking about here? This is going to include situations like there's a debit entry that is for an incorrect amount. It would also be for when we have a debit entry that was debited earlier than authorized. Or it could be for when we have a debit entry that is part of an incomplete transaction. Or it could also be for a debit entry that was improperly reinitiated. Or, yeah, it keeps on going, right? It can also be used for special situations for ARC, BOC, and POP. And that is going to be for entries that are ARC, BOC, or POP where the source document was ineligible, or a notice was not provided to the receiver, or, yeah, there's a lot of ors, right? Or even when the amount of the entry was not accurately obtained from the source document. R11 returns have many of the same requirements and characteristics as an R10 return and are considered unauthorized under the rules, meaning that they are incorrect electronic funds transfers and they actually are subject to the same error resolution procedures under Regulation E as unauthorized EFTs. Now, RDFIs, you do have to work with your customer when there are claims where R11 is going to be the appropriate return reason code, and the requirements to obtain a written statement of unauthorized debit remain the same as they are for R10 returns. So I hope you've updated your sites. And just like the R10, the R11 return time frame, it's going to be 60 days. R11 returns, they are included within the definition of unauthorized entry return rate. R11 returns are covered by the existing unauthorized entry fee. And that fee, that's what starts in phase 2, which starts April 1st, 2021. The new definition and the use of R11 does not include disputes about goods and services. Now, we're not going to worry about goods and services. We take care of the payments in the network. And just as with the current definition and use of R10, if there's a problem with the goods and services, then that's to be handled outside of the ACH network or outside of the payment itself. So tell me again, why do we have R11 and R10? Well, the key difference between R10 and R11 is that with an R11 return, an originator was permitted to correct the problem when and where possible, then submit a new entry without being required to obtain a new authorization. Having to go back to a consumer and obtain a new authorization, it's even more time consuming. It can be quite a hassle. And something that this new rule, it definitely helps to alleviate that issue. But the new entry, there are some rules that go with it, because the new entry must be originated within 60 days of the settlement date of the R11 return entry. It's not like you can just do this whenever you want. You gotta be within those time frames, and you gotta be within the rule. Again, on April 1st, 2020, the repurposed return reason code became effective. That was last year. And financial institutions have already been using it for the new purpose. But now, come April 1st, 2021, the repurposed return reason code will be covered under the existing unauthorized entry fee, and you can expect, whenever this happens or occurs, to see a fee of $4.50 per entry. Whew! I would like to avoid them, so make sure that you get your return reason codes right. Now, there is still quite a lot happening in the world of ACH in 2021. In the Payments Professor, I'm here to help you take the ache out of ACH. And if we're done differentiating on things, how about we take some supplements? No, wait a minute, it should be supplemental data security. But that's in the next class. So for now, class dismissed. So what did you think about that particular class? What did you think about all those new rules and new updates? And if you missed part of the class, you can always go to the Payments Professor website to learn more about what's happening. We have all kinds of courses out there about all kinds of different things, electronic payments, and we are here to serve and help you. We even have some things that are out on our YouTube channel. If you want to go there, please subscribe if you do go there. Or if there's a class or maybe a course you'd like to have created, you can always email me, kevin@paymentsprofessor.com. And like I said at the end of that class, I got to say it again, class dismissed.